Speech off.
Hi everybody, it's Beverly at Bama Blind, and I'm pointing toward an intersection in front of my house, and Gretchen and I are heading out to walk down the street as far as we can walk before I decide to come back. The reason that we're out and about, you'll see lots of traffic, lots of people, is that tonight is the night for our annual Christmas parade in my hometown. Oh, right now you can hear chime organ music coming from one of the church bell towers. And I'm just walking down my sidewalk. So I walked straight out my front door and I'm walking down my sidewalk. And I'm kind of wanting to see how Gretchen will do with all the traffic. They taught us at the Seeing Eye that we were not supposed to take guide dogs. It was not a good idea to take guide dogs to a parade. And the reason is because everyone is walking in the street in the parade, and there are vehicles and there are people stepping out and people throwing things like candy, and it confuses a guide dog, because a guide dog really is supposed to stay out of the street. So there's no use in her standing there watching a parade. And I have to admit that even if I am on the curb, on the front row, I cannot see the floats that are 10 feet passing in front of me. So I don't get a lot out of Christmas parades except for the bands and stuff. But 20 years ago today, 1999, my husband and I and one other guy were the coordinators for the local Christmas parade. Okay, Gretchen, we're gonna turn right up here. As soon as we get up here, we're gonna go right. In 1999, I was sitting on a committee. It was called the Mayor's Council on Persons with Disabilities. And I was approached by several people to see if my husband, Jerry, and I would agree to help with the Christmas parade. Of course, we didn't know what that entailed. And so there was another fellow who was actually the director of our junior ROTC. We had never met him before. So we worked as a threesome, and we set up all of the criteria for the floats. It was the first year that our town had an organized Christmas parade. Up until that time, anybody could just say, oh, I'm going to be in the Christmas parade, and they'd be in a pickup truck or their own car or, something, and there was no Christmas theme or anything. So we sat down as a committee of three, and we came up with the criteria, and there was a very, very small entry fee. And 20 years ago, this was 1999. It was the turn of the century. And so we were like, our home was the central hub for everyone registering for the Christmas parade. And so we had little forms they had to fill out and bring them to our house. Go forward. Gretchen, let's go forward. There's distractions. Let's go forward, Gretchen. Good job, good job. Anyway, so there were people that would bring the forms to the house and we would sign them up, and they had to have a theme with their float, and we ended up having about 125 floats and entries, and they were all choreographed. We spaced them in a proper space. We assigned them numbers. We printed up numbers with signs so that they could stage, and it takes about a mile of street to actually stage the parade. I'm going to stop right here because this intersection right up here is going to be the very first intersection that the parade comes to. And again, it'll be very, very distracting for Gretchen, who's right down here. But the parade comes down this, what's called Court Street, circles around by our fountain, by our waterfalls, and goes all the way down the center of town and ends up at our local High School Stadium. And it's a map that
Hey there, beautiful.
say hello. Let's go, come on. So it's a map that my husband and Steve, the other person on the committee, drew up, and they're still using it 20 years later. And now we did the Christmas parade. We actually hired a videographer to come, and we had a platform that Jerry and I and Steve could stand on right downtown in the thick of things. And even then, let's go forward. Even then, I wasn't able to see all the floats. And let's go forward. And the lighting was much better for me then. Since then, I've noticed when I brought my grandchildren down here for the parades, I've noticed that I've not been able to see the floats, even when they're right in front of me and even when they're fully lit. But I do miss the music, and I love watching. They've got like 5 or 6 marching bands and carolers and dancers, and they even continue to carry the huge banner that we designed and made for the initial parade people to lead off the parade, that says the to the city parade. So anyway, here we are with lots of noise, lots of direction. We're gonna go to the left. We're gonna go to the left. Good job. Good job. Let's go to the left. Good job. You did it. You did a great job. So you can see how busy it is down here, and this is a good hour before the parade. And I don't feel comfortable at all taking Gretchen to watch the parade. There won't be any of my landmarks. I'll be in a sea of people, and I won't know exactly like where's the corner, where's the curb, what street are we passing now, because people are actually out into the streets and they're in covering the sidewalks. But I just thought I would share that with you, that I couldn't see it all. Well, I shouldn't say that. I didn't have functional vision. And I think because I had been active on the committee, and my husband and I were both retired, and we were relatively young enough that we could just devote a lot of time to it, we became the first committee to do our modern Christmas parade, and all of our standards have held up since then. Like I said, we did the one in 1999, and then we did another one in 2000, and they were just so fun to organize since we started taking applications like the first part of November. And people worked so hard on their floats and their dances. There are like ton twirlers, and the businesses that sponsor the floats come from all over, not just from my town. And my town has about 38,000 people, so it's not as small as you might think. But we had a blast doing it. I don't think if anyone asked me or Jerry if we could have done it this year or last year, or do we want to do it next year, I think we would decline, because 2 years in a row, it takes up a bunch of your fall time. But it was great fun. And here we are back at our house. And I think that's enough time that Gretchen and I spent. And I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Gretchen and I will have a wonderful evening. We might be able to actually sit out here on our porch and listen to some of the band music, but I'm not really sure about that, because there is so much other traffic noise and people coming from all over, just pedestrians walking. So I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I will talk to you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.